Open up your book to chapter 1. In the lesson, we talked about character traits for Homer and what Homer was like. And in chapter 1, I want us to go back and think about what is Squintin like? What can we infer about Squintin in chapter 1? So we're going to underline what Homer says about Squintin, what Squintin feels, what Squinter does, what he says, and what he thinks. Let's start reading. My name is Homer P. Figg, and these are my true adventures. I mean to write them down, every one, including all the heroes and cowards, and the saints and the scalawags, and then stained with the blood of innocence, and then touched by glory, and them that was lifted into heaven, and them that went to that other place. I say my true adventures because I told a fib to a writer once, who went and put it in the newspaper about me and my brother Harold winning the battle of Gettysburg, and how we shot each other dead but lived to tell the tale. That's partly true about winning the battle, but most ways it's a lie. Telling the truth don't come easy to me, but I will try, even if old truth ain't nearly as useful as a fib sometimes. The P stands for Pierce, which I got from my mother, Abigail P. Figg. Pierce Figg, that perished in a fever and left me and Harold under the care of her late sister's husband, Squintin Leach. Our father, Henry Figg, died of a failed tree before I came into this world, and when Mother passed away, our fortunes went from bad to worse, because Squintin Leach was the meanest man in the entire state of Maine. Okay, so him being the meanest man describes him, and if you are mean, that's something that you do. So underline that sentence about Squintin being the meanest man in Maine and put an A out beside it. Great, let's keep reading. I tell a lie, there was a meaner man in Bangor once that poison cast for fun, but old Squint was the hardest man in Sumter County. A man so mean he squeezed the good out of the Holy Bible and beat us with it, and swore that God himself had inflicted me and Harold on him like he was Job and we was boils and pestilence. Okay, so this is another this is another description of how he is mean. Squintin Leach. Just writing down his name gives me the shivers. Our mother was a kindly schoolmarm who taught us to speak proper, so I can't tell you exactly what I think of Squintin Leach, but it approximates what I think of a rabid skunk, or scabs on my backside, or a bad toothache. Me and Harold keep trying to take it personal, but Squint hates everything. We just happened to be included as he got stuck with us. Once, I made a list of things Squint can't abide. Okay? And so this whole list is feelings. These are feelings that Squint has. Okay? So he hates all these things. Things Uncle hates. So we know Squintin is hateful. Let's keep going. Add that to your evidence. Then I run out of paper. Parson Reed of the Pine Swamp Congregational Church, he once said Squintin Leach was aggrieved of life, but I think he was just flat out enjoyed being hateful. Okay, enjoy being hateful. Make sure you underline that. That's a feeling if you enjoy something. Oops. Enjoyed it the way some men take to whiskey or rum. Old Squint got as much pleasure from meanness as he got that he kept on being mean no matter what. And the worst of his cruelty got aimed at my brother Harold, who was always sticking up for me and getting stuck himself. That's how it all started, our true adventures with Harold sticking up for me. One day I'm feeding the hogs, and Squint catches me chawing on a scrap of stale bread he throwed in with the slops. "That's intended for the hogs," he says, "not for the likes of you." Alright, that's a saying. Make sure you underline it, write it down. I keep on eating, wanting to get as much of it down as possible, expecting to get pummeled and maybe kicked some too, if he was in the mood. But when Squintin raised his fist to strike me, Harold catches him by the wrist. "The boy is hungry, uncle. Truth is, we're both half starved. You feed them hogs better than you feed us." Squint's face swells up red and bloated. He curses and makes a hit for both of us. That's an action. He curses and he hits him. But he can't get free to Harold, who's scrawny but strong. Finally, Squint trips over his own 2 feet and ends up face down in the hog pen covered with mud or worse. Then he really gets mad. That's a feeling. Me and Harold don't wait to find out what happens next. We hightail it into the barn and bolt the door from the inside. Through the cracks we watch old Squint drag himself up from the mud and staggers into the house. Inside the house is where he keeps his guns. He means to shoot us dead, I decide. Harold shakes his head. Uncle needs us to work the farm. Wound us then. Whatever he aims to do, I'll stop him, Harold said, real firm and certain. Like he discovered something about Squint and will use it to keep us safe. Like he's finally growed up enough to throw the old man down the mud if need be. We wait inside the barn, stay in the house until we spy Squint slinking from the side door. Sure enough, he's got his old flintlock squirrel rifle, but much to my surprise, he don't come after us. Instead, he marches over to the padlock. Next thing, he scrambles up on Bob the horse, and off they go into the cloud of dust, and as much dust as an old horse can rise. Well, that's something that Squintin has done. He is leaving the house on the horse. Gone to fetch the sheriff, I say. He means to hang us. Harold gives me a look. You know he hates the sheriff worse than he hates us. Where's he got to then? I don't feel right. Squint leaving instead of kicking the door down and whopping us like usual. Oh, that's the action about what Squint is doing. Thing of it is, I'd rather take a beating than whatever he's got in mind riding off like that. Harold sees I'm worried sick. Don't fret, little brother. I got a notion what we should do. Let's do it then. Anything's better than waiting for Squint. Harold says he'll be 18 his next birthday, and time comes for us to run away and make a life for ourselves. He says we can get hired in the logging camp and be logging men with axes and saws and such. The way Harold tells it, I see the campfires, smell of stew bubbling in a big iron pot, and I hear the rumble of green giants shaking the earth as they fall. We'll ride great logs on big rivers and get paid in gold dust and beef, and one day we'll own a forest itself and everything in it. That's how fine Harold makes it sound. I'm chopping down trees in my mind, happy as ever I've been, when Squintin Leach comes back with a crew of men to lynch us. And that's the action. Go ahead and write down all your fast evidence. And then I want you to reread it and look at your character traits list. And I want you to think, what kind of person is Squintin Leach? Make sure you write down at least 3 character traits. Go.